Here is a step-by-step guide of how to set up the AWS Certificate Manager for your EC2 instance. So go to your AWS console and choose the EC2 service. Make sure that your instance is up and running, and also make sure that it has the 80 and 443 ports whitelisted in the security group. You can find it in the security tab, and then you can find it here. If these ports are not whitelisted, just tap on your security group and click Edit Inbound Rules, and just add the appropriate inbound rules for 443 and 80 ports over here. The next step is make sure that your web server on EC2 instance is up and running. I'll go ahead and start my web server on the 80 port. You can run it on any port you prefer. Just make sure that the port you're running on is whitelisted in the security groups over here. So let's go ahead to our EC2 instance and check our web application right now. So I'll copy all the public DNS address, open a new tab, and here you go, our web server is up and running. Now, in order to set up the AWS Certificate Manager for our EC2 instance, we need to create an application load balancer. So I will go to the load balancer section over here and click Create Load Balancer. Then I'm choosing the application load balancer, and let's call it Website. I'm scrolling down and leaving all the settings by default. I'm picking up all the availability zones in our virtual private cloud, and I go ahead and create a new security group for the load balancer. I'll call it Website as well and insert the website description. Then I will add that inbound rule for the HTTP from anywhere and another rule for the HTTPS from anywhere. I will leave the outbound rules for default, like to any port, to anywhere, and click Create Security Group. So now the security group is created, and then go back to our load balancer creation page, refresh the drop-down and select my newly created website security group and uncheck the default one. Then I will go down to the listeners and choose here the HTTPS listener because we want to use AWS Certificate Manager. And to connect the load balancer to the EC2 instance, I will need to create a new target group. In the target group creation page, I'm choosing instances, target group name website. Then over here, it's important to choose the port that you have used on your EC2 instance. In our case, our server is up and running on the 80 port, so I'm choosing the HTTP port 80. I'm scrolling down, leaving everything by default. You can adjust the health check pattern if you want, but I'm leaving it as it is. So now I need to choose the available instance. I'm clicking to my running instance and just making sure that this port is also the same as the port of the web application that is running on this EC2 instance. And in my case, the port is 80. So I'm including them as appending below. Then I'm clicking Create Target Group. So the target group is created. It will take a while for the target group to become healthy. In the meanwhile, we will go back to our load balancer creation page, refresh the drop down and choose our website target group. Then we'll scroll down, and here we need to select our AWS Certificate Manager. As far as I don't have any Certificate Manager yet, I will request a new ACM Certificate Manager. I'll click request public certificate, and enter the domain name for which you want to have the certificate. In my case, it's going to be air.kuzemcon.com. You can add multiple DNS names if you want. I'm leaving one. Then I'm choosing the validation method at the DNS validation and leave everything else by default and click request. Now after the certificate is created, it's loading. Once it's loaded, it's in the pending validation mode. And we need to validate the ownership of our domain. So we need to add the following CNAME records to our domain name server. And in my case, my domain name server is road53, so I will open it. However, you will need to enter it to the DNS server that is hosting your domain. I'll go ahead, select my host zone and just create record. I'll copy the name of the record and then choose the CNAME and copy the value, paste here and click Create Records. So this record is created, and now we just need to wait for a while until the domain will be validated. So we turn from pending validation mode to validated. Okay, we waited for a couple of seconds and our domain has been validated. So we can go back to our load balancer creation page and just refresh the drop down and choosing our newly created certificate. So I leave everything else by default and click the Create Load Balancer button. Okay, now our load balancer is created, and it's time to associate our domain with the load balancer. And to do so, we need to go back to Route 53 and create record. Then I will choose the endpoint, I will choose the EC2 application load balancer, choose the region, the one I'm in, and then choose the load balancer we just created and click Create Records. If you are not hosting your own domain on the Route 53, you will need to add this record manually by just copying the DNS name configuration from the load balancer and creating the respective record in your DNS name. So our load balancer is still in provisioning stage. I will refresh it. We will need to wait for a while until it will be provisioned. So after waiting for a couple of minutes, application load balancer has been provisioned, and I'll go ahead and type in the DNS address of my website using HTTPS connection to check if it works. And now I can see that it works well. So I have the certificate encrypted service. However, there is one more thing. It might not necessarily work on HTTP port. So in order to make it work on HTTP as well, we need to create a redirect rule in our load balancer rules. And I click Add Listener, then choose Protocol HTTP, and then click Redirect to URL, and then leave everything by default. It means the protocol HTTPS, and port I can enter 443 and just click Add. In that case, if I visit HTTP, it will be automatically redirected to the HTTPS. So this is how we set up our AWS Certificate Manager with the EC2 instance. And this way is the most reliable way to set up it for the production environment, because our application load balancer offers us a lot of benefits in terms of network security, firewalls, and managing the certificate. However, as you might find in this tutorial, this method looks a bit complicated. It requires to set up a lot of different parts, a lot of different steps that might not be as flexible if you want to do it for the prototype or test environment. However, there are a few alternative approaches that you can use to set up the HT certificate for your EC2 instance without using AWS Certificate Manager. So the first one is using the Cloudflare. In case your domain is hosted by Cloudflare, or you're considering moving your DNS name servers to Cloudflare, you can set up the record that will forward the traffic from your domain to EC2 instance, and the Cloudflare will automatically take care about the certificate creation. Let's do it right now. So I'm in the home page of the Cloudflare, and I will log into my profile. Let me go to the websites, choose my website, and then choose the DNS, and then add a new DNS record. I will go back to my EC2 instance and just copy the public IP address of my EC2 instance. I will create an A record with the name alternate and paste the IP address. Also make sure that you have the proxy at status. That way Cloudflare will be able to supply your connection with the HTTPS certificate. I'll go ahead and create this record. So now if I go to l.kuzemkhan.com, I should be redirected to my website. However, this issue has occurred. So in order to fix this issue, we need to make sure that we have a proper settings of the SSL and TLS in our Cloudflare. So I click the SSL TLS over here, then I will click Configure. Then here it's important to choose the custom SSL TLS and choose the flexible mode and click Save. So after I've saved those changes, I can refresh my page, and now it works as expected. I have my connection encrypted to this HTTPS. It is completely managed, and it just took a few clicks to create. Another method to get the HT certificate for EC2 instance is using Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt is free and public certificate manager that can help you issue your own certificates. However, Let's Encrypt requires a manual configuration of the certificate and manual update, but you can change it with the use of the following engine server configuration that will let you to launch the Let's Encrypt daemon that will automatically create and regularly update your certificate, and the engine server that will let you encrypt your incoming connections with the Let's Encrypt certificate. While this solution might not be the most reliable because you need to manage all of the incoming configuration and inject yourself, and also manage the infrastructure of deploying Let's Encrypt, it has the benefit that you're not relying on any third-party provider like AWS, Certificate Manager, or Cloudflare, and you can have your own infrastructure within your service with a certificate that might be a great way for the specific testing environments. If you're interested in learning more how to set up the automated HTTPS certificate on your EC2 instance or just any virtual machine, type Let's Encrypt in the comment section below, and I will release another video about it. However, if you still prefer to use the AWS Certificate Manager to set up your HTTPS encryption, I have another special bonus for you. So here is a Terraform code of all of the AWS configuration we just did in this video in order to set up AWS Certificate Manager with the EC2 instance. So you can deploy this configuration just by running one CLI command of the Terraform. And I'm sharing the link to this code in the comment section below, so feel free to use it and adjust it to your specific preferences. While providing you the Terraform code, I'm making sure that you have the easiest possible experience of setting up your AWS deployment configuration. I'm still curious to learn how challenging you find to make the AWS cloud deployments. So please leave the comment below to rate the difficulty of setting up the AWS deployment infrastructure from 1 to 5. Your feedback is highly appreciated. So thank you for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful, I appreciate your time and would love you to subscribe to my channel for more AWS tips and tricks. Please remember to hit the bell icon so you will get all the updates. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, click the like button.